Hello, and welcome to Internet Archaeology, the podcast where we dive into nostalgia, weird internet stories, and forgotten games. I'm your host, Emma Tanner, a 20-something-year-old college student who grew up chronically online. Now let's dig up some dead media. In late 2022, a previously unknown Martin Scorsese film popped up on the popular social media site Tumblr. According to users, the film was released in 1973 and based on the Italian mob. A popular tagline being the greatest mafia movie ever made. Now, have you ever heard of Goncharov? Along with Martin Scorsese's hits like Killers of the Flower Moon and Goodfellas, does Goncharov stick out to you? Probably not. Do you know why? Because Goncharov doesn't exist. The film first came into public light in 2020, when Tumblr user Zudikun posted a photo of a boot with the text, "Martin Scorsese presents Goncharov." The user captioned the photo, "I got these knockoff boots online, and instead of a brand name on the tag, they had the name of an apparent non-existent Martin Scorsese movie. What the F?" That post was then reposted by another user named Aveline McIntyre, saying, "This idiot hasn't seen Goncharov." While the McIntyre repost is considered the beginning of the meme, the joke was relatively underground until November of 2022, when a poster of the film emerged. I will say the poster is really convincing, and it's easy to see how people could have fallen for it. The poster kickstarted Goncharov's popularity and allowed people to create a plot and fit actors for the film. Now let's deep dive into the plot, because there is one. The movie is set in Naples, Italy following the dissolution of the Soviet Union. I'm gonna interject here a bit and say that if the film was made in 1974, the Soviet Union was about 15 years out from dissolving. Now this could have been an alternate reality type deal, but it feels partially like a lack of research on those who developed the plot. Anyway, the movie follows Robert De Niro as Goncharov, a Russian hitman and former nightclub manager. The film has a love triangle of sorts, with Goncharov's wife Katya, portrayed by Sybil Shepherd, and his enemy Andrei, portrayed by Harvey Keitel. The Washington Post's version of the plot has Goncharov and many other key players dying at the end of the film. The film seems to have it all: a captivating score, an all-star cast, homoerotic undertones, and no matter what version you come across, a dramatic ending. The main points of the plot get pretty muddy depending on who you ask, since 1, it isn't a real film, and 2, it's entirely created by the internet. If there's one thing this film has done, it's brought together the internet. The original creator of the poster, Alex Korachuk, was a 20-year-old artist in Prague at the time. The poster had print orders coming in almost immediately. The composer of the theme song, Alex Lada, was a 25-year-old music teacher who grabbed inspiration from the Godfather score. Plenty of people have made fan art for it. A letterbox page was made, and people began posting reviews for a movie that didn't even exist. Not long after, a public Google Doc was made where people could help devise a cohesive plot for the film. Archive of Our Own, a popular fanfiction site, has over 1,100 entries for the film. The movie came in third place for Tumblr's top movies of 2023. I mean, it's still relevant in a world that has a blink and you'll miss it trend every day. Celebrities also joined in on the fun. Fictionalized cast member Lynn Carter played along with the joke in regards to her role in the movie. Actor Ryan Reynolds made a post about his favorite line from the flick. Even Scorsese himself got in on the joke, telling his daughter that he, quote, made that film years ago. Shout out to Francesca Scorsese for asking her dad the important questions. The film as a whole feels sort of like a criticism of the stereotypical film bro. What do you mean you haven't seen the 1943 Romanian art house film Silent as the Night? And yes, I completely made that up. The initial response of, "This idiot hasn't seen Goncharov," is exactly what some pretentious cinephile would say. Pokes fun at the film community in a pretty fresh way. The addition of a homoerotic relationship between the lead and his enemy is the icing on the cake. Now, some deeper research from Michael Luttrell, a former journalism student, found that the name Goncharov could just be a really bad mistranslation. Research into the name, Domenico Procacci, who was named as the producer on the boot, found that he had a film named Gomorrah that was released in 2008. The film was about Italian organized crime and was based on a book about the Naples Mafia, which happens to be where Goncharov is set. Scorsese lent his name on Gomorrah's US release to boost popularity, and the director Matteo Garrone shares a first name with the director on the boot, Matteo JWH0715. I think it's safe to say that Gomorrah is maybe what the boot was trying to promote, but it was very literally lost in translation. If you want to see the comparisons between Goncharov and Gomorrah, I'll link the photos and some more information on my website. Some credit the quick ascension of Goncharov to be due to the mass exodus to Tumblr from Twitter following Elon Musk's purchase. Kelsey Weekman of BuzzFeed describes the movie as, quote, evidence of the unique power of Tumblr's creative collective minds. User Do You Have a Flag cites Goncharov as a perfect example of Tumblr's yes and culture. Can't say they aren't right. I grew up on Tumblr, and I saw the creativity and sometimes scary hive mind of the website. Tumblr is a unique platform that has a sort of connectivity that other social media websites don't have. Maybe it's the emphasis on anonymity or the innate quirky stereotype that was bestowed upon it in the 2010s. Tumblr's style of threads and stacked replies make it the perfect place to build a fictional movie. I mean, other viral posts have had the same formula. Now, I hate to break it to you, but Tumblr wasn't the only site to attempt this. Zepotha, which popped up on TikTok 9 months after Goncharov's popularity, was entirely created by users on the site. On August 11th, 2023, user Emily Jeffrey posted on TikTok with the caption, "New bid idea. What if we created a fake 80s horror movie called Zepotha? We can convince thousands of people that this weirdly titled 80s horror film actually exists." The main way Jeffrey and others got the trend started was by commenting things like, "You look just like Elaine from Zepotha," on other users' posts. Jeffrey didn't have any lore pre-developed. In fact, they relied on the fact that others would develop the plot and characters over time. The post sits at 9 million views, over 1 million likes, and roughly 28,000 comments. A user commented, "This was posted 19 hours ago, and I've already seen hundreds of comments about Zepotha on other people's videos." Jeffrey's content almost became exclusively about Zepotha. In early August, they posted a song with the caption, "The way this song is threatening my entire personality and wardrobe, like if I listen to it one more time, I will begin exclusively dressing like a gothic vampire and start keeping so many secrets from people." Among other compliments on the track, the comments were filled with things like, "This is so Zepotha." For a few days, it became nearly impossible to scroll through TikTok without seeing a comparison to a character from Zepotha. Google even noted that there was a search spike for the title. TikTok users took the title and ran with it. The thing users could agree on was that it was an 80s slasher film. Over time, characters like Elaine, Cole, Danny, Maxine, Rita, and Vincent were also consistent when discussing it. I saw a lot of people mostly referencing Elaine and Maxine, and it seems like no one could agree on what the characters looked like. There was a comment saying that someone looked like Maxine, there was a guarantee that at least one reply would be disagreeing with it. Like Goncharov, Zepotha almost immediately got entries on fanfic site Archive of Our Own. It has about 100 entries now. People also made Zepotha short films or trailers. On August 13th, 2023, Jeffrey posted, "Hey, sorry to break the fourth wall, but as the creator of Zepotha, I feel it's important that we restore order and organize our lore," with an announcement for a short film contest. They declared that the winner would win $500 and their film would be the official story. People eventually caught on to the fact that Zepotha was, drumroll please, a marketing ploy. The music that was used with essentially every video, including Jeffrey's original post, was their song, "Do You Remember Me?" that was set to release in late August, along with their album. Some people weren't too keen on the idea of Zepotha, as it seemed unorganized and sloppy. One TikTok user said, "Honestly, I was never a fan because it felt too disjointed and confusing. They'll never have what Goncharov had." The replies seemed to be agreeing with them, citing that the 80s flick popped up just after the Goncharov hype died down. Seems a little like too much of a coincidence that TikTokers tried to replicate it just 9 months after Tumblr's success. The trend felt a lot longer than it truthfully was. Most of the popular videos surrounding Zepotha posted between August 11th and August 15th. Users' feeds were so drenched in references to the film that it became impossible to escape. I think the biggest difference between Goncharov and Zepotha is the accessibility to context. What made Goncharov unique was the fact that people were willing to drop the joke for a few seconds to let others in. It wouldn't be unusual for some people to say, "Oh yeah, Goncharov's fake, but that's the fun of it. Here's some more info." Zepotha was exactly the opposite. People usually didn't know it was fake unless they saw the original post or just looked it up. If someone were to ask what it was, people would just say, "You really haven't heard of it?" Felt like some sort of in club that you had to see the initial post to be a part of. I think gatekeeping is probably the appropriate word here. Feels mean to say that TikTok is known for gatekeeping, but it's a little less yes and than Tumblr. Tumblr feels a lot more like a community. I don't think I'm biased in saying that. I used Tumblr as a teenager, but I tend to use TikTok a whole lot more now. TikTok has somewhat of a culture around being in the in crowd. Zepotha was the perfect way for people to feel special and included and a part of something, since the app is so focused on individuality and feigns inclusivity. The trend was anything but inclusive, and it feels like a thing that you just had to be there to know about. On the flip side, Tumblr is more focused on being in groups and feeling included in something. That's why there are such significant fandoms and sectors of Tumblr that so many people are a part of and so many people feel fondness towards. Feels like kind of the antithesis to TikTok. It came before TikTok, but you know what I mean. Additionally, TikTok's attempt feels a lot more capitalistic than Tumblr's. Goncharov was literally in good fun. People saw a botched shoe and thought, oh my god, this would be hilarious to build off of. Zepotha was constructed to promote an album. I seriously and sincerely doubt Jeffrey knew that it would go as far as it did, but the entirety of TikTok did all the legwork for promoting the album. A lot of people still don't even know that they were promoting an album. Where Goncharov had Google Docs, a real-world movie, and a Letterboxd page, Zepotha had random comments on videos. Goncharov still has an existing Wikipedia page that has a buttload of information if you're curious about it. Zepotha also has a Wikipedia page. It had one when it first got popular, but it got taken down pretty quickly. And the information on Zepotha's page is really barren compared to Goncharov's. And I know there were 9 months between them, and it's been less than a year since Zepotha, and it's been over a year since Goncharov, but it does feel like there was a lot more thought and effort and almost love put into Goncharov than there was with Zepotha. As stated previously, Zepotha sort of felt like an in-club or a joke that people weren't supposed to get, while Goncharov was something where creatives came together and came up with something, and people all felt like they had something to contribute to it. Zepotha lacked the cohesiveness and the collective culture of Tumblr. I think the sort of platform that Tumblr has, one where users make text posts, was perfect breeding ground for an attempt like this. A video posting platform like TikTok seems a little messier. I'm not saying that Zepotha was a necessarily bad replication of Goncharov, but I think it would be really hard to replicate the seamless execution of Goncharov again. I also don't think Jeffrey would have tried to make Zepotha if Goncharov hadn't happened just a few months earlier. For those who know what it is, one was obviously inspired by the other. Could it happen again? Maybe. But it could very well turn into another case of internet archaeology. That was Internet Archaeology, the podcast where we dive into nostalgia, weird internet stories, and forgotten games. Once again, I am your host, Emma Tanner. If you liked the show, feel free to give it 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find me on Instagram at Internet Archaeology Pod, on Twitter at Internet Arc Pod, and on my website at www.emmaftanner.com. See you later.